So this comic here is Web of Spider-Man 125. It's the return of Gwen Stacy to comics. But she turns out to be a clone. She's a cloned version, so it's not the real Gwen Stacy. But cool stuff. There's a whole cool hologram there. I'm just somewhat confused right now. I had 2 copies of Spider-Man 400. I just don't know where that second copy is right now. I've got to look for it. That's gonna just bug me. But anyway, I had 2 copies. I only have 1, so it's somewhere in between, like another comic somewhere. So I'm gonna have to go look for that. It's gonna bug me. Anyway, this is not a high grade. There are a few spine ticks there. So, but I still think this could get a 9.0. This is my other signed comic, Mark Silvestri. Stephen Batt, who's the colorist on this cover. There are a few spine ticks there, but I think as long as this comes back a 9.0, which or higher, which I'm sure it will, I'm happy. For me, really, it's more about the art of this book and the signature. And then, of course, my Spawn number 1. This one is 9.8 for sure. The only questionable is that corner right there. I don't know if you can catch it. There's a little bit of a like a nick on that corner. Otherwise, look at the spine. It's on a dark cover like this. To have such a clean spine, you gotta give me props. CGC. That's a 9.8. So when that comes back a 9.8, that's staying in the collection. If it comes back less than a 9.8, I'd be willing to part with it. So a 9.6 Spawn I'd part with, and I'd just try to get more raw copies, or maybe even sell this to help buy a higher grade. Because right now the 9.8s and the 9.6, I'm sure there's not that big of a price difference. But again, this is going to come back at 9.8. It's such a clean book. I mean, and I'm not going to get it pressed. It doesn't need a press. So this is a book I'm going to submit without pressing. And we'll just have to see how I do. Yeah. But it's again, that is the only. So is that negligible or not? That's the question. And I know they're forgiving with corners, especially if it's just one like that. So I mean that would just take it out of the 9.8 range. Everything else is good. And this is I did read that copy, so I don't know if they'd find something. I don't think I took really good care of the book, so even though I read it, it's nothing that would, I think, prevent me from getting that 9.8. But anyway, those got a lot of sort of short videos coming up. I gotta upload these, and we're gonna get to my last comic now. So I picked this up at a comic shop in Seattle, and it was in their back issue bin, and I just thought it's a pretty, like, it's a VF copy, very fine copy, with a press and a clean, could bump it up higher. So I'm thinking this is an 8.5 copy. But with a press and a clean, who knows? I'm just hoping can bump it up. Really, the two things that are wrong with this book, and so I got it for 25 bucks. So this is what happened. I went in, I only had 22 bucks to my name. That's how much cash I have. I went in hoping to talk them down, just say, hey, look, I have 22 bucks. Can you give me a discount? Or I'm willing to. I brought some books I was willing to just give them to make up for the difference. Because with $22, the difference would have been $5.50 with tax. But they're just being like, I mean, first of all, it is a business, so I get it. They don't drop prices. They don't give discounts. They just were basically stating store policy to me. So that wasn't gonna, hinder me from getting this book. So luckily, my wife, she's really awesome. I paid it for it with my card. And then I just, said, hey, look, I was short a few dollars. So she said it's okay. So I got this book, and luckily, I'm very glad. So $25 for this book. Let's go over the grade here. So there are, I'll say this. It's, you know how I mentioned that there's color that pops, and then there's just color that kind of seems dull. And so I think that's the biggest problem with this book. It's just a dull, sort of a dull colored book. Like the colors don't seem, it's a clean book. It just doesn't, like, I've seen 9.8 copies where the color, that blue is just popping, all the colors on the superheroes are popping. I just don't get that sense with this book, and so I could see a CGC grader being like, initial impression, not a 9.8, just based on the color, the vibrancy of the book. So I'm just hoping the clean and the press will bring all that out. I do know that this comic was kept, the comic shop is located near the water. So you're talking about a very humid environment, that in a rainy, humid environment of Seattle. So, and you see that, so you notice that there's a little bit of like a crinkling going on. I mean, it's just it's not severe, but you can just tell there's just some, like, the pages have kind of been weathered by I think the humidity. And so but now, with that being said, there's a little bit of, they're nothing color breaking, but there's just a little bit of like some light creasing there. Okay, that corner is a little blunted. That corner is fine. That's the Mylar bag. You're looking at a very good spine. that was my, and this wasn't in a bag of board, it was actually just in a plastic, so there's a bit of a spine tick there, but not color breaking, so that is pressable. That's it on the spine. Okay, look how clean the spine is. Okay, another clean corner. Edge, very nice. That corner looks to be a little bit like rounded. So you got a rounded corner there, you got a rounded corner there. One minor little spine thing that we'll be able to get out with a press. And then I'm hoping the clean will just bring out the white, kind of liven up the color. And I've seen cleanings that actually get a lot of it, the sort of the surface grime off, and brings out the color. So I'm hoping that's what happens here. And with the press, I'm also hoping it just brings like a certain level of crispness to the pages, because right now it's looking very sort of like saturated, like moisture saturated. So hopefully with the press, it'll just kind of like press it, make it very like starched, like give it a good starch pressing, make it somewhat stiff, and hopefully when it goes to the grader, the grader will notice, oh, okay, like it'll change the perception of the book. So the perception of the book now is like, I think this is definitely a 9.0 in that range, but hopefully with that extra magic done in the pressing, it'll bump up. So yeah, this is definitely going to CGC on my next submission, and this is also one of the books I've been wanting in my collection for a long time. I mean, you're talking, I was like in 4th grade when I had read this series. I even had the number 8, but they were just ratty copies. You know, because you're a kid, you're running around with them. I was 9 years old. At 9, no one told me you had to take care of comics. I only found that out later in life. But so I just basically had very reader copies, 9-year-old red copies of like this and like G.I. Joe and Transformers and whatnot. So, yeah. This is my pickup today, and so happy. So happy. This in a slab is gonna look amazing. And yeah, I've heard rumors. There's actually a really great video by this guy, I forget his name, but I'm sure if you type in like Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars, like speculation, you'll find the video. In this video, the guy interviews Jim Shooter, and Jim Shooter basically is just talking about a situation where Marvel approached him to sign a release form, basically taking his ownership off this book, or his rights to this title, the books and the title. Basically, it was just like a release form, like giving, and so I think they paid him for him to sign that, but he signed it, and so Marvel has full rights to all the name, all the content through these issues. So Secret Wars and Secret Wars 2 and the subsequent Secret War titles. And Jim Shooter was saying how if there's any indication that they're planning something for a movie, that would be it, right? it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. When the news for so we already know, like, they've done they're doing the X-Men titles, like, sorry, not X-Men, but they're doing Marvel comic titles. For example, Days of Future Past, Civil War, Infinity Gauntlet. So they take these, like, iconic comic stories, titles, and they adapt them for the movies. And that's what's going to happen with this, because you've got all these great characters. These are, I mean, so all these characters are either in or coming to the MCU. Okay, they're either in or coming to the MCU. All of them. X-Men's coming. She-Hulk's has her own series. Well, Iron Man. They're gonna probably have a new version of Iron Man. They're gonna have Spider-Man in it for sure. They're gonna have all these characters at some point. They're gonna introduce them, and the Wasp, I'm sure she'll be in it. Hawkeye's already there. So these are just they've laid the foundation to do this kind of story. Now, will they bring the symbiote, this symbiote suit story into it? Probably not. They'll probably do like a different version of it, but they're going to do something where it's where they bring all the heroes together and they take on, like, the bad guys, and they're dealing with, like, cosmic forces that something along the storyline of this. I forget exactly what brought them together. I think there's like an alternate universe or timeline that they're all sucked into, or something like that. But anyway, glad I have this book. Spec or not, this is just this is just a great book to have. Yeah, it's just a great book to have. It's one of the. This would have to go into the top 5 Copper Age books. And that cover as well. That cover has gone to top 5 Copper Age covers. So, boom, very happy. Okay, so thank you for watching, and like and subscribe if you like this content and you like my collection. Give me a like, please. Let people know to follow me on Instagram. I'm going to be, kind of sharing all the covers I have, and then really the sort of the pinnacle of this channel. I'm going to try to, every time I get comics and every time I sell or there's something updated in my collection, I'll let you know. But really, the next thing that we're waiting on is the 6-book CGC submission. So we're waiting on those grades to come back. So that unboxing will be very exciting. So hopefully you'll check in from time to time, check in on updates, and I will see you then.